will you? And I'll help you lose their fear on Monday, April 7th. Their frustrations with the Trump administration. This is new aerial footage from cities like San Francisco, Minneapolis, participating as well. There's protests also happening right here in South Florida with people coming out of Hollywood, Miami. We saw people at Tamarack rallying against everything from Trump's tariffs to his immigration policies to his Ggggg. But we'll get there next week in Hollywood reform.
And several of those demonstrations took place here in South Florida, one of which is here in Hollywood. Tonight, demonstrators out now to the current administration. Front Miami. And all the critics of the Trump administration taking to the streets. Demonstration globally reflective of a national effort to help hands off. Thousands of Americans estimated to have taken part from coast to coast, frustrated over the actions the administration has taken, from downsizing the government to the economy and human rights. In Hollywood, Democrats are concerned with how the administration has carried out deportations since Trump took office. They have to process that. And in Tamarack, a fictional character, Alexandria, is rising at the Handmaid's Tale, something she believes could be reality. They're taking away her right to
I don't know that individually we make much of an impact, but together we can certainly make our voices heard.
And many of these demonstrators telling us that it is just important to get out and make sure your voice is heard. The very is from all the uncertain state global setting.
Just like you should get a this goal, I think this one, my buddy Mars sums it up.
This one is Elon Musk reacting right here on the show to the resistance that's been torching Teslas and terrorizing his company.
This is a quick video of one Howard on TV podcast, and he was talking about 50 times on other stuff. However, you gotta talk about pop culture and Hollywood because he was a Hollywood expertise Howard for decades. And this viral clip he talks about Ggggg and how he tried to catch them. So I'm gonna play the clip.
You do.
Well, you said X.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Alright,
So, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody. Got the wrong people that went to fucking. The wrong people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be. Some hope and great desire, which never really desire to be. So, I big part of the wrong there because if you do stuff, you yourself back to yourself, maintain your living part. You have to do it. Now, if you keep the way people see you have to go to a place. I get it. So you see some black folk, they stand and shit. They stand and get fucked up. They can't get out of their head. They can't get out of their head. Things that they do. How they feel. It's drunk or how they feel. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs. They end up dead to the way. Get rid of any principles there. And that's what the business does. The women that trade their bodies, hope to get the book, to get to the point where they have to have their money, but they don't have their dream, they don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like a tree, they don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my stuff so that they can stay in place. The benefit is that by losing my integrity, you gotta go ahead and some principle. And what we were brought in here is you.
because he's 1,500 tons for parking for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. We don't break these. We know that. If you have the opportunity to somebody and said, no, hell yeah. But with the problem, I mean, I've been trying to do for weeks asking me to come teach them how to, wanted me to be a vacuum. Because over there in the second house, I'm like, okay, what's the material for the result? Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and play the music. Sitting there, looking at it. Like, wait. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck me. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now I'm in communication. Now you different when a guy wants to say, I second that. Howard is exactly right. I would stand that's what's wrong with politics. And that exactly what you're talking about in politics is just saturated the political scene too. Too much involvement. I think it's exactly the same thing. Compromise in a down and or to get somewhere and the whole thing
Sure.
from local, state, and federal is compromised. That's one of the reasons why who speak in the fashion they can't stand fault. Because the fault is as soon as they lay out. He's one man fault. Same thing like cost you money to stand up for that. Cost you opportunity to do people's needs. Easily, like I said, a lot of pushback on those who have intelligent, drop rich, drop bars. Friends like you've got more than it. There's too much of that in August. His name's pretty interesting. And it's possible. Big money. It's the credit card. Yeah. Yeah. That's something that the spend the Aggie every 9 people you look at in Hollywood, whatever they do. Well, executive functions, local functions, somebody that's all fair. That's what you're looking at. Now, I'll make an exception. That's a lot of accountants. I have to give them that. There are a whole lot of accountants in Hollywood who are in the same part of art. In other words, they're fighting. Come back to that group. And my flag, like that's a big fight. And I'm not surprised because there's something about Capra that's very akin to fight or fear or something like that. You go out and fight the game, you go out and Capra. And they're capturing images, so there's kind of this manly atmosphere that goes along with the capture. Right. And this is not confusing the rest of the state. When you get into politics, if anything, it's worse. And once somebody gets into the initiation aspect of it, it is what it is. That's why when you look at the poll for the black caucus on national level, And you also look at the Liberty Caucus, which is backed by the LGBTQIA plus community, supposedly like flag on a flag. You will find that damn near every black caucus is a member of that LGBTQIA community. And I say not the community so much, but the cult, which goes along with which, working, because it's not really a gay thing or a lesbian thing, because you can have
Look on me.
real badass who did that. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, notorious for that damage on the other side. But they did not abandon duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability, bravery, courage, etc. But this thing they have now with the cult is it allows people, once they become a member, whether they're in Hollywood setting up the cult, or whether they're in DC trying to govern the country, which they don't do too well, or City Hall trying to govern the city, which they don't do too well either. They are about obligation. You don't have to be, but you have an obligation to perform acts. If you don't want to deal with the obligation of being a man, you don't have to be a man. You don't want to deal with the obligations of a woman, you don't have to be one. You can cut the corners. You can do the casting couch. The only problem with the casting, well, not the only, but the main problem with the casting couch is if you're good at that, and let's say you're in Hollywood and finally you get the big part, it's going to be a flop, because if you don't have the acting talent, you can't pull the role off. You get into politics, and we saw this with Kamala Harris. She casting couched her way to the top, but when you got to the top, you have to be able to perform, and she couldn't. So that's what we have with Trump, the typical mega supporter, the typical American man or woman. We have duty, honor, obligation, etc. Being a man, being a woman.
So let me set this clip. In this clip, let's talk about integrity. And specifically about Hollywood, he did mention that casting couch, and he was like, you see, all these people think they sacrilege to the Lord, but they had sacrificed their integrity and their soul, and when you do that means nothing. And he also pointed out
it doesn't mean nothing. It means a whole lot. Negative. A whole lot.
right. And he also said, once you as a man give up, not so much of it being taken away from you, but when you will be with your resources, you never get it back.
And I mean, I don't know. This thing, I've never done it. I don't play that. But I've seen so many that have, and the compromises are ridiculous. By the way, that's one reason why our urban areas are poorly run. This crime, dysfunction, bribery, extortion, under the table compromises that allow the people who own offices to get rich at the expense of the people. The silly stuff you see down there in Fulton County that makes no sense. It's because of this. And even though it looks like occasionally scandal comes because of heterosexual, it's not really, because there's definitely always something in the background that's going on. And that's just not with our society when somebody is trying to hide something. It used to be somebody's running around their spouse or significant other, and the spouse of the significant other was of the opposite gender. Now, gender is supposed to have, 126 or 140 or whatever with the scrap. And there are things that get abandoned when that happens. For example, women hate it, or used to, before they had GPS, where guys would just keep driving around and around trying to find something, and then get upset. Why don't you just ask somebody what the guy's trying to find?
that room, and he hunted game or found the trail over into the next valley where there were resources that could feed his tribe. And women do stuff that is just in the baby. Fine, most sex and house. How do you get them? Men hate the shop, but you see, shops carry over from gathering. What we do is carry over from hunting. And there are male and female differences that are innate in there, and there's no way around it. It's just you're hardwired that way. Mother Nature's been working on it for a long, long time, and you can't get rid of it just because you have a glitch in your wiring. So we have politics that is directed, influenced, and to a great extent because it's not really about government. Just like Hollywood isn't necessarily about giving a good performance. It's about something else. And the positive for the most part, people that are doing it feel so compromised that they can come out of it enough to do what they're there to do. So, by the way, I saw an individual that maybe got a shot that you look over the blue cap water bottle. She my signature and stopped it. Says Joe Brown printed in today, which was a couple of years ago. So yeah, I've been on the show. It's a real astute. They try to get to the bottom of things, and we need more like that coming to us through me.
All right. Thank you so much. I really wanted you to talk to this because you spoke to Anthony Mackie when he was talking about masculinity, and now we have Terrence Howard. Yes, it was centered around him mentioning Sean Combs, Diddy, but he speaks to masculinity and what does that, how people compromise that in Hollywood, right? And I appreciate the fact that you expanded it into politics and what is going on in society because, yeah, it seems like masculinity is trying to be redefined. Like, we should not be redefining it.
They have got the erasers, whatever, to edit what masculinity is supposed to be about. Several years ago, Denise, Valerie Denise, and I did our Friday thing, which is now cut off because George Soros did it. We interviewed Monique Gilbert, Valerie was a fan of his, and when I was interviewing him, he got to talking about his dating habits and sex. And he started talking about him having sex with trans. And I said, well, you're gay, aren't you? He said, no, I didn't. But you just got to talking about somebody is trans. Well, they say they're women, but he's got a penis and you're having sex with somebody with a penis and you got one. That's gay. Come on, come on. So he fumbled and went on and went around and he handed a phone switch. It disappeared. But you see, that kind of thing comes out all the time when you get into it. You deal with things like the Breakfast Club. Now, the late Dick Gregory and I have been friends, have been friends since he's no longer with us on this side anyway, for a long time, and we talked. He called me up absolutely outraged one time when he said he looked at what he did on the Breakfast Club and saw that rainbow flag over his shoulder. He didn't know it was back there. And you get that silliness, and you have, what is it, Charlemagne the God. He got a little 5'6" tall guy that's on video running down the block to get away from some people that are confronting him outside the office where they do this, or the building. And the real Charlemagne was 7 feet tall, and he was a maniac just on the Hitler level. So why would you call yourself Charlemagne? And then put the God in there, and then you got that woman in there that's got the proclivities, and that other guy that's straight up that way. So they are the ones that cast the ideation out there for people to follow. And it's like anything, from a lie to the truth, you put it out there long enough, say it loud enough, image it long enough, and you can get anybody to believe it, but we don't have anybody finding the truth out there or the reality out there except maybe Trump and makeup and a few other people like myself.
I was about to say, you.
Yeah, we put it out there and we get all of this pushback because one, it's from the people that are really interested in what ours are. And two, it's because of the foolish and the ignorant and propagandized just like it is naturally their condition. So that's the bad thing. You are a man and you want to provide for it. You want to protect. You are a woman. You want to deal with advice. You want to deal with holding. You want to deal with motherhood. But you've been propagandized to reject that. And you feel really crazy. And you've got youth out there who are running crazy in the streets. Crime is rampant in the streets now in the urban areas. And what's going on is they've got the same kind of disconnect that Howard is talking about here, wherein they are propagandized and conditioned to reject what they are about. They don't provide for and protect. The boys go out and try to simp and pimp. The girls don't sit there and nurture and develop. What they do is they go out and try to play something that would fill the vacuum that ought to be filled with manhood. And then you have a woman in the vacuum when you do that. So we just have the general breakdown of human society when we get people who Howard is talking about in Hollywood, setting the image, setting the tone, establishing the phrases, opening the ideas that deals with the dysfunction he's talking about, whether you're in Hollywood or you're in Washington, D.C., or the state capitol or city hall. And that's something America has to deal with to adjust itself back to the center. And that's why the rest of the world is so strongly rejecting what we're trying to export to them as something of a cult, something of a religion, a secular religion, if you would say that, wherein people abandon duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability, bravery, courage, etc. And we've got to get back to the center because that's the most rotating economy.